Welcome everyone to a edited video by John Fly. It's not too often that I do polished, or for lack of a better word, a refined video here on the channel. Most of my videos are done basically clipping live streams that I do on twitch.tv/johnfly. I stream 3 to 4 times a week in both X-Plane 11 and P3D, and please click on the link below and follow twitch.tv/johnfly to catch me live. Click the follow button and also the notification of when I go live. Also, if you like this video, down the road, consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and also clicking the bell to be notified when a new video goes live. I'm sitting here on the ramp, and we are in the Flysimware Lear 35. We're at Kilo Foxtrot Delta Kilo, which is Frederick Municipal Airport in Maryland. And we're going to be doing a flight down to, or over to Cape May, Wildwood, New Jersey in the Lear today. I am flying for Snack Air, SNAK, on FS Economy. And this first part of the video will be basically how I get the plane started and programmed up, and then we will continue into part 2 on the taxi and takeoff, and then in the third part we'll do the approach and landing into Kilo Whiskey Delta there in New Jersey. So the first thing that I do when I'm inside the Lear 35 is, when you load the plane up, it's in a state, and I like to start cold and dark. I couldn't find a good video on YouTube that went through the cold and dark, so I've kind of gone through and figured out how to do it on my own. But a big disclaimer is that I do not know this aircraft very well, and so the order in which I do things may not be correct or accurate, but it will work in the sim, hopefully. All fingers crossed. So if you hit Shift 1, as you can see here, I can bring up the Lear 35 hangar menu, and here on the right side you have System Start, All Systems Off or Ready to Start. We'll click on the All Systems Off. Once that is in play, then we can go down to the light panel, which is just behind the yoke. We'll click on the yoke to disappear the yoke for the time being. And we're going to turn on battery 1. We're also going to turn on battery 2. Hydraulic pump can go on. Inverters, primary and secondary, can go on. We'll come over here to the FO side and we'll turn the beacon on to let people know we're in it, getting started. Back over here, we'll turn on the computers, but by default they're already on. Turn on the autopilot. This does not engage the autopilot, it just allows the autopilot to be in use. Turn on the radio altimeter. Also turn on the AC bus primary and the emergency bat up to battery. Anti-skid is on by default, but it's always a good idea to double check. And we'll turn the avionics master on. By turning on the avionics master, it'll start up your GTN 750. Now these GTN 750 GPS devices are an independent purchase from Reality-XP or Reality XP. And it's a very easy step in the manual and how to get those incorporated into the 3D panel here in the Lear. We'll go ahead and make sure that our throttles are in the idle position, which they are not. There they are. They've got to be in the bottom portion there for engine start to function. Down here on the pedestal, we have fuel pumps, I've been turning on the standby pump. The jet pumps are on. We'll start the left engine first. Up here we have the start switch here, and what we're going to do is take that to the start position, and then we're going to look up here on the turbine gauge to show at least 17% before we add fuel. One thing that's very important is that we turn on the external power. So we'll do a shift 2. We'll put the pilots in there. And then we click on the GPU. After we've engaged the GPU, we'll come down here and we'll click on the start. Light will come on. And we should start to see the turbine percentage rise. And again, we're looking for 17% before we add fuel. Take the left throttle up to the idle position, thereabouts, and we should see an engine start. I can also adjust my P3D volume so that you can hear the engines. And then again, we take that noise down so you can hear the beauty of my voice. Back down here to the generator, and we'll take that by left clicking on. Also, I've seen people do a gen reset. We'll repeat the same thing for the right engine. So over here, go down to the start position. Again, waiting for 17 to be shown on the turbine. And there's 17. We can add fuel. We have a good engine start on both left and right. We'll also take this to the generator position and reset that gen. Not exactly positive that the gen reset is needed. Okay, we will continue on with some of the switches down in this position. If you need anti-ice, it is in this section. We'll turn the pitot heat on left and right. Fasten seatbelt sign. One other thing you could do is you could put on the nav light, which is what you should do. Bleed air is all in the default correct position. Today's flight will be done with real world weather at this moment. We'll come over here to Active Sky for P3D. We'll click on Flight Plan and we'll put in our departure airport of Kilo Foxtrot Delta Kilo. We're going to Kilo Whiskey Whiskey Delta. This is a 117-mile trip due east, so we will go at 190 or 19,000. Refresh that. This will give us the most accurate weather for our route along the way. We'll come down to set our barometric pressure. As you can see here, you do this by changing this knob. I'm using my middle scroll wheel. And you can set it manually, or in P3D you can type the letter B and it's 2987. You can always double check your elevation if it corresponds with the field elevation of the airport you're starting at. Switch the cab air on. I think that won't hurt us. I think we're ready to go into our flight planning phase. So today, again, it'll be a simple flight direct, because we'll simulate getting a direct destination from ATC. Cape Kilo Whiskey Whiskey Delta Cape May. What's interesting is my transponder code did switch, so we'll reset that. Getting ready for taxi. Verifying all is good for that light to come on. Clearing our messages. I haven't figured out a way to sync these two, or if it's even possible. So if you know, please feel free to comment down below in that step. We're going to come down to the center pedestal, and we're going to click the steer lock. That will allow us to steer the plane with the rudder pedals. And as you can see here, steer on is indicated. Also, two lights on the annunciator panel are left stall and right stall. We can extinguish both of those by clicking on the stall warning system. We also see over here to the right that the takeoff trim is illuminated. Use my trim that is bound to my joystick to set the takeoff trim. As you can see, the light has come off, and down below we have a pitch trim that is inside the range that's tolerated for the annunciator panel. Again, if I take it out here, you will see that the annunciator light is on, and then again, if I bring it back down into, say, around there, the annunciation of the takeoff trim warning is extinguished. But on the aileron trim, we can see that it is out of whack, and this may not be the case in your plane, but if you ever find the needles in this position, you're going to want to adjust those to be level. So I hold down Control and hit the right arrow or left arrow, get that more into a level position. And we do have our parking brake on, which is set down here underneath the throttle by clicking on that, or you can bind to a switch on your joystick or throttle quadrant or keyboard. I will turn the right pumps on. That I forgot to do on the start of the right engine, although it started fine, but I think the standby pumps are good to have engaged, since on a previous flight I did lose engine number 2 and noticed that the standby pump was in the off position. We are now going to taxi out to the runway. The conditions currently are winds 310 at 17. One thing that I do is look at the taxi diagram to see what the favorable runway would be under those wind conditions. I use Navigraph charts for a lot of my flights, mostly using it for IFR flights. Navigraph is working on some VFR functionality. I look forward to that. We just put in the 2 airports, click on KFDK, open the charts list, click on the airport information, and click this arrow up in the upper right hand corner to show where our aircraft is. With winds being 310 at 17, I think our preferred runway would be runway 30. 3,599 feet long is a little on the short side, but we should be okay for a Learjet. I will taxi down Echo, turn left on Alpha, right on Bravo. And we will cross runway 23 and hold short of runway 30. I hope this video has been informative on how I start the Lear. Again, if you have any recommendations on a better procedure or step, please comment below, and I'll consider editing the video at a future time. Please join me for part 2 as we will continue our taxi out to the runway, and we will also do our takeoff. I will show you the autopilot and several other functions in part 2 of this video. Again, please click like and subscribe, or click on dislike twice. Thanks for joining, and see you in part 2.